Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Spotlight, brought to you by the Georgetown branch NAACP, where we are here to educate, motivate, and activate. Today, we have a very special topic that we want to go over. Matter of fact, it actually calls for an emergency um, show today so that you can get on top of this FEMA assistance. Please go ahead and give us a thumbs up, a like, and also make sure to go ahead and share it with your group so they can also be informed about what's happening. We have a very special guest from FEMA, so stay tuned.
Heavenly Father, we ask you to put a hand of protection.
Okay, welcome again, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and jump in and bring on our co-host. We're going to start with our first VP, Deontay Winchester. Good afternoon. Got you on mute.
Good afternoon, Ebony. How are you?
Good. How are you? And our next VP, Miss Marilyn Hemingway. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good to be here with everybody, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yes. And our president, Mr. Marvin Neal. How are you?
Good afternoon, Ebony. I'm traveling, but I'm here.
Good, good. Well, as you all know, hopefully you know by now, South Carolina, in at least three different counties, Hurricane Ian is now 2 months later has been considered a emergency disaster by FEMA, and there is assistance that you can apply for, possibly. So we want to go ahead and give you that information, and also there's sites that are going to be available for you to get that assistance. So anybody want to speak on that, because we have a special guest that's waiting to come on.
FEMA's been on the ground about 2.5 weeks now in Georgetown, Horry, and Charleston counties. There are three separate offices for each county, and they've been knocking on doors, getting into our community organizations and community centers like Goodwill, Salvation Army, Habitat for Humanity, getting information out about disaster assistance for residential and for businesses, and really encouraging folks to go to disasterassistance.gov and complete the application. But they've also been on the ground building relationships with community organizations and individuals to really dig down into the community and find out where damage occurred. All too often, once TV cameras go away, we forget that there are folks who've been impacted by hurricanes, and in this particular case, Hurricane Ian, that really needed help. It is a good thing that FEMA is on the ground, that they finally received the request. The White House signed it as soon as they got it and got FEMA down here. And I, for one, am just really appreciative that they're down here and doing what they're supposed to be doing, helping folks to complete applications and start the process to possibly get some help.
Gotcha. Well, go ahead, Mr. Neal.
Yeah, Ebony. It's very interesting, though, FEMA being on the ground 3 weeks, and the information that is not being translated to the community of needs and stuff. And most of the time, as we could relate, the minority and black community and underserved is always the last to get the information. And that's always not always been a challenge, because in the past, emergency management was really on top of their game in Georgetown here, and their leadership. So not only that they've been on the ground three months, that's good, but we have a challenge in leadership communicating with the city government and county. So we have to do better from that perspective. So I'm glad they're on the ground, but there's much work to do. and I know there's a deadline. There's a deadline. So that's where we are right now. So hopefully things will work out. I gave out a lot of information last night at our church. We had a revival and stuff, so that was a great opportunity there. Some of the people that filed already, and those that have filed really need to go into what's happening tomorrow on the ground and stuff and really validate what they have so they won't miss the mark this time. Thank you.
You were muted, Ebony. At least I can't hear.
So we're going to go ahead and bring on our special guest. She is from FEMA and she does their community outreach and communications. But let's bring her on and welcome her. Everyone, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. Hello.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to explain what we're doing here and how we can help the survivors impacted by Hurricane Ian.
Well, that's actually a great segue into the first question. Exactly what's going on in Georgetown?
So I'm glad you asked. One thing this gives me an opportunity to do is also to let people know who may be watching this. So if you can share, great. That gets an opportunity to reach more people. We will be in Georgetown actually again on Saturday. That's tomorrow from 9 a.m. at Greater St. Stephen AME Church to reach the survivors impacted by Hurricane Ian. And that location is 2807 High Market Street. Again, 2807 High Market Street. And we're going to be there from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. tomorrow. And our goal is to reach as many people as possible. We hope to have people come out and ask questions. If they've been impacted by Hurricane Ian, we want to see how we may be able to assist them. They can come there and not just meet with FEMA, but there will be representatives from the Small Business Administration as well to possibly help survivors. When people hear business in the SBA, they automatically think, well, I'm not a business owner, but they are great big partners working alongside with FEMA to help in this recovery process. So anyone who's watching, we really encourage people to come out to 2807 High Market Street in Georgetown tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We had a good turnout last weekend when we were there. So this is just another opportunity for us to reach more people. And of course, you know, we do have our Disaster Recovery Center on Pawleys Island. That's at the Waccamaw Regional Recreation Center at 83 Duncan Avenue on Pawleys Island. But, you know, we realize for some people, it's not convenient to go from Georgetown to Pawleys Island. So this has given us an opportunity to really focus on people who might just live in Georgetown. And honestly, you don't have to live in Georgetown to come to this church, Greater St. Stephen AME Church on Saturday. If you live in Horry County or even Charleston County, if you happen to be passing through, you are more than welcome to come out. FEMA will be there to assist you as well. The only requirement is that you live in one of those three designated counties, and that's Charleston, Georgetown, and Horry counties, and you suffered damage to your primary residence as a direct result of Hurricane Ian. So if you're in the neighborhood, we would love to see you, and we would love to see how we can possibly help you.
Well, you mentioned a good point, Nikki. These are for residents that you're assisting, but can business owners and maybe sole proprietors also come and apply at these locations, or is that a different process?
When we talk about FEMA's programs, individual assistance is specifically for our focus is on your primary residence. We want to get you back in your home so it's safe, sanitary, and secure or habitable. For business owners, that's when we will refer you to the Small Business Administration. So people who are business owners can come out to this church on tomorrow, which I will also be there, and they can get help and meet with someone from the Small Business Administration. And so if you are a business owner, you can come out there, but you know, business owners are homeowners too, and they're also renters. So they can also see what they may be able to get assistance with from just an individual homeowner standpoint. But from the business side, that's when we'll refer you to the Small Business Administration if you are a business owner. But again, like I said earlier, the Small Business Administration during times of the disaster, and people don't often realize this, but they also help homeowners too. I always say that, you know, FEMA is a piece of the puzzle. We are certainly not the entire piece. It truly takes the state, it takes the local communities, it takes the municipalities, it takes the religious organizations, it takes even your organization to help get the word out, as well as other nonprofits, all working collectively together to help everyone on the road to recovery.
Very good. Marilyn, I know that you have been meeting with individuals to try to spread the word about this FEMA assistance. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, right after Hurricane Ian, I don't remember exactly what was the incident, but I received word that there were folks who needed help. So through the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce and with the help of the NAACP, we got our public number out there and told folks if they were impacted by Hurricane Ian to contact my email address and phone number. And we actually had about 25 households contact us who either were in residences that were physically impacted by debris from Hurricane Ian, limbs through the roof, water washing out the crawl space situation, wind damage, a lot of wind, limbs, falling on houses and stuff. And then we also had the power outage. That lasted for some folks in Georgetown County, in particular the PD, Browns Ferry area, until the Tuesday after Hurricane Ian came through. So that was about 4.5 days. And those folks, anyone between that time you didn't have power, whether it was a few hours or 4 days, anything in between, you had a lot of food spoilage. So a lot of folks, it was that time of month that they probably had already gone to the grocery store, filled up the refrigerator, then promptly Hurricane Ian came through and they lost a lot of food. And I mentioned that because you can get help for that also. Check with your insurance company, but also there are programs within FEMA that you can get help to replace that food.
To touch on that, on the spoiled food, that's a common question that we often get. Typically, FEMA does not cover, unfortunately, if you spoiled food. What FEMA's assistance is really primarily focused on and targeted on is, whether you are a renter, whether you are a homeowner. Some people live on a boat. We're talking about your primary residence. We may be able to assist you because at the end of the day, our goal is to get you back in your primary residence. There's also some cases where people may be able to qualify for medical or dental assistance. If you bought a generator, during Ian and you needed it, you may be able to also get assistance for that. We really urge people, this is not just for Ian. This goes for any disaster, but after the disaster, and particularly Ian, since that's what we're talking about, we want you to start the recovery process right away. And then we want you to also document that. Keep your receipts. If you bought like equipment, like a chainsaw, again, a generator, or anything to help with your recovery, because we want you to start that recovery as quickly as possible. We want you to keep the receipts, take photos, get video if you can on your cell phone. All that's going to help, not just with FEMA, that's also going to help if you have insurance when you go to file with your insurance, if you have it. We always tell people that if they do have insurance, that is your first line of defense, to file with your insurance first. And then if you are uninsured or if you're underinsured with your insurance, by all means, we want you to then reach out to FEMA. By law, FEMA cannot duplicate insurance payments. And I always use this as an example. Say during Hurricane Ian, you sustained a lot of roof damage because of the storm. If you file with your insurance and your insurance agrees to cover the roof damages, you then can't turn around to FEMA and say, okay, FEMA, my insurance is going to pay for this. Now, what are you going to give me? Essentially, in a nutshell, you cannot double dip. And it's going to be really crucial if you do have insurance for us to, whether it's homeowners, renters, or flood insurance, to know what your insurance is going to cover. If you file with FEMA first and you don't file with your insurance, if you have it, it could cause a delay in the process to see what FEMA may help you with, because when you're going through the registration process, we're going to want to know what your insurance again is going to cover. So that's very critical if you have it. But again, even if you have insurance, some people are underinsured. So that's an opportunity to reach out to us and see what we may be able to assist you with.
Okay, so Nikki, one of my questions, and I know it's a concern for a lot of people, Hurricane N happened well over 2 months ago. Okay, so at this point, for example, individuals that had lots of flooding, what can be done at this point? Is there a way to prove how can a person go about certain damages that might not necessarily be visible right now? Can they still apply?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Again, if they have insurance, that insurance is going to be the first line of defense. And then if they still feel like they need some additional assistance, that's what we're here for. We want you to reach out to FEMA and then get the process rolling with us to see how we can help you. And, some people like to meet with a person face to face. They like to talk to an actual human being. So that's why we're also offering this opportunity tomorrow in Georgetown for people to come out and meet with FEMA. They don't have to, it's not a requirement, but again, people like often that face-to-face contact. They can also call us at 1-800-621-3362. Again, 1-800-621-3362. They'll get in touch with a FEMA representative by phone. They can also go onto disasterassistance.gov to register. Again, disasterassistance.gov. And then they can also download the FEMA app and start the registration process that way. But, yes, it's been a few months since the storm happened. Ian made landfall near Georgetown September 30th. So we realize people are still cleaning up. And so we are here. We also want people to be mindful that there is a registration deadline, and that is January 23rd. So don't delay. If you think you may need some assistance, go ahead and start that ball, get the ball rolling. And you were talking about the flood damage, in some cases, if they are able to take photos or video, do that. That also helps. And once they apply for FEMA, the next step is usually an inspector will then come out within a few days to assess the actual property damage. And then after that, a determination will be made on whether or not they may qualify for some assistance from FEMA. And it's really important to mention that any assistance from FEMA comes in the form of grant money that does not have to be paid, is not taxable income. It does not also impact any other federal benefits that you may be receiving. This is money that is designed to be used for you to help solely for your recovery. You can't get that FEMA money and then turn around and spend it on a vacation or something like that. It's important that you use this money for your recovery.
So let me also ask this question, Nikki. When people are applying for the assistance, and I guess that's provided if their insurance company does not cover everything, or if they don't have insurance at all, when they go to apply, is there certain paperwork that they would need on hand, or what's the important information that they would need to complete an application?
The biggest thing that I tell people, and that's so critical, that can cause a delay, is make sure, your insurance policy is so critical in this. If you do, and most people do have insurance, that's not to say that not everyone does, but that's going to be critical because we're going to want to know what your insurance is going to cover. So you're going to need to upload those documents. We're going to need to know. Also, sometimes there can be a delay in the process because when people are registering, they don't put the correct phone number down where we can reach you. So that can cause a delay in us being able to get in touch with you to set an appointment for an inspector to come out to look at the property damage. Sometimes we can't get in touch with you because you don't have the correct physical address of where the primary residence was. So all that's important. Now, if you have all of that correct and everything, you've done everything correctly, our goal is to get that grant money, if you are in fact eligible, to you as quickly as possible. Especially if you do direct deposit, that can be given to you in a matter of days. But we want to also manage expectations and let people know that FEMA, anything that FEMA may give or a survivor may be eligible for is typically not enough to make a person whole. That's why I said earlier, it really takes everybody. FEMA is a piece of the puzzle, working to help survivors recover from this. So we want people to be mindful of that. Any funding that a person may receive from FEMA is typically supplemental. It's focused on short term, where we can't make you whole all the way, take you back to your pre-disaster condition. We'll refer you to the Small Business Administration, even for disaster survivors, as well as nonprofits in the area.
So, in that case, when a person is applying for assistance, and knowing all the information ahead of time, um, can they also apply for things that would help mitigate a disaster in the future? Is there room for that?
So typically what we're focused on is the individual assistance aspect of it. Again, it's focused on short term. The average grant is typically about $5,000. So if you lost your home, and it was worth $200,000 and you did not have insurance, that $5,000 will get you, to help. It will aid in some of your recovery, but it's not going to be able to make you whole. So going back to from everything, even mitigation to just long-term getting your life back together, the way it was before disaster struck. We try to refer people to the Small Business Administration. And a lot of people don't like that because they automatically think loan, and no one likes a loan. They want the grant money. But the key is to, as part of the process, if we refer someone to the Small Business Administration when they apply for disaster assistance, we encourage them to fill out the application. They are not required to take the loan, but in an instance, say the SBA does not approve that person, that survivor, for a disaster assistance loan, they will then often be referred back to FEMA for some additional grant consideration. So it's really part of the entire process where we're all working together. But I can't stress enough the importance of, not delaying. September 30th is when Ian made landfall. It's hard to believe that we're now approaching Christmas. So it's so critical for everyone to know that we are here. We are going to help any way possible, but to not delay. For me personally, my job is communication and outreach. I go to radio stations and I do this. I appreciate you guys having me on to help also spread the word. And so we want to let people know as much as possible that there is help out there that they may be possibly eligible for. So again, don't delay, start the process right away. And FEMA is here to help in any way we can possibly do so.
Nikki, I have a couple questions for you. And the first one is, I have a nonprofit that helped a family after Hurricane Ian. They had some damage. Tropical Nicole came in, and this was before FEMA was on the ground, and they really need to get into a hotel. And the nonprofit put them up. Can the nonprofit file a disaster assistance application with FEMA or SBA to maybe get reimbursed? Or is that too specific? Is that yes or no?
So the Small Business Administration may be able to assist you guys with that. But again, like the individual assistance, our IHP Individual and Households Program is specifically designed for disaster survivors. In some cases, we do have public assistance grants that may be eligible for nonprofits. And also it's really geared towards the municipalities who were impacted by Hurricane Ian, and that goes for like Georgetown, city of Georgetown, city of Charleston, any municipality. So there is that possibility. I don't want to give you a hard yes and say that definitively, but I know we do have public assistance grants that can also assist some nonprofits.
Very good. And then my second question is, we live in an area that has an heirs property issue. I know recently the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor Commission, in partnership with FEMA, came up with a new plan to help heirs property owners. Could you talk about that a little bit? And can those folks get some help tomorrow at St. Stephen's?
Yeah, if they come out tomorrow, there will be FEMA representatives who are specialized in the grant programs that can talk specifically to that. They are more knowledgeable, way more knowledgeable than I am about it, but I do know there is help out there within FEMA for those people who are dealing with heirs property, and that makes it a little easier in terms of what they have to provide in terms of documentation to see if they can get some assistance, because we know that can be a little challenging when you're dealing with heirs property. But we do have FEMA representatives who are specialized in that area who can also help them. So again, we encourage them to, and they don't even have to come out tomorrow to the Georgetown event at the church, but we would welcome them. They can also call us at our 1-800-621-3362 number, and they can kind of guide them into some of the things they need to do to kind of see if they qualify for assistance. But help is out there through FEMA.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Nikki.
Hi.
This is Marvin Neal. Once an individual receives a grant for assistance from FEMA, is it a must that they have to have flood insurance in the event that another situation occur before they can get assistance again?
I didn't hear the question all the way, but I'm going to try my best to answer that. Depending on, like, for some people, they are required. If you have a mortgage, you do have to have flood insurance. But in terms of our assistance, when it comes to individual assistance, some people don't have flood insurance. So there may be an instance where they may need to reach out for FEMA, and that is what we're there for. So it's not on our standpoint, like, your insurance is your first line of defense, but if you don't have it, you can in fact still apply for assistance through FEMA to see what you may be eligible for.
Now that's a great question. I think the
the answer is to apply when you're in doubt anyhow.
If you don't have flood insurance, then yes. Same thing with any other insurance. It's kind of like what we've been saying. We always tell people your insurance is always going to be your first line of defense. But if you don't have it, or if you're underinsured, that's what we're here for. We're trying to see what people may be eligible for.
I'm sorry, Ebony.
Go ahead.
Is there time that must elapse between the time when an individual can, say, put in another claim after they've already made one?
No, if, for example, if there was to be another disaster in South Carolina, and say another disaster hit the area and it wasn't even a year since Ian hit, that would be a separate disaster. And if it got a federal declaration and FEMA was in, then that person can, in fact, file another disaster registration application with FEMA. Again, your insurance is going to be your first line of defense, but that has no bearing on it. If there was another disaster, you can by all means apply for disaster assistance, no matter how many disasters, as long as it was a federally disaster, as long as the disaster was federally declared, and then you live in one of those counties, those designated counties that are eligible for disaster assistance. And again, Charleston, Horry, and Georgetown County, they are on the list. So yeah, that has no bearing really.
Okay, thank you.
I think the last thing that we want to, I would like to know, and if you would share, Nikki, is there are a bunch of people that may be scammers that's saying, hey, I can help you complete an application, and that people need to, definitely be aware of that. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate, anytime there is a major disaster or tragedy, there are always bad players out there that want to sometimes take advantage of a bad situation, and prey on those who are most vulnerable. When you've had damage to your home, it sometimes makes you vulnerable, and you're easy or more willing to trust anyone that comes out your way to say, hey, I'm willing to help you. But we really want people to be mindful, especially, it's not uncommon. Unfortunately, I wear FEMA logoed shirt. You can get those, I'm sure, online, just like you can get a FEMA, get a police uniform online. We just want you to, trust your gut and look for those red flags. When an inspector is coming out, we're never going to ask you for money. And if it doesn't feel right, at the end of the day, I tell other people to, if you don't feel comfortable, call the police. Ask to see if that person comes up to you and says, hey, we're here with FEMA, I'm a FEMA representative. Ask to see their badge. If they're acting a little uneasy or sketchy, by all means, it's better safe than sorry. I encourage people to call the police. Again, I can't stress enough, we're never going to ask for money. The same thing with contractors. You have contractors separate from FEMA when homes are badly damaged that come out and also try to prey on disaster survivors. So just be mindful of that. Just don't let anyone go into your house and say, hey, I'm here with FEMA. I'm going to, before you do that, because we do have home inspectors who are out there looking for the damage. Just trust your gut. I can't stress that enough. Look for those red flags. If it doesn't feel right, it may not. And again, better safe than sorry. Call the police in your local area.
And like I said, just keep that in mind. They have some information here. We're also going to put this on our social media page, Facebook. So for those of you who are tuning in from Facebook, we appreciate you so much for joining this show today with our special guest from FEMA, Nikki Campbell. And please just be mindful of that. And just remember, tomorrow, okay, FEMA Assistance, if you need help applying, is available at 2807 High Market Street in Georgetown. That's going to make it more convenient for you, for those of you who live in Georgetown, at St. Stephen's AME Church from 9 to 1 o'clock. Share this information. If anybody doesn't have any more questions or comments, we appreciate you, Nikki, for coming on and sharing this information. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And I know that, having this available to the residents is helpful and appreciated.
Thanks so much.
There's one more question. When is the deadline to apply, and how long can a person expect to be approved once they apply?
So the deadline to apply, I'm glad you asked, is again January 23rd. So if anyone's watching, please do not delay. File with your insurance. And if you think you're uninsured or underinsured, go ahead and start the ball rolling with FEMA. Give us a call. We're going to be at the church tomorrow, again, at 2807 High Market Street. So keep that in mind if you would like to come out and meet with us. We also have our disasterassistance.gov website where you can apply. And, you asked the question, well, how long will a person know whether or not they are eligible for disaster assistance? That honestly varies from person to person. Provided that they've done everything right, they can get the funds if they are in fact eligible in a little of a matter of days, especially if they do direct deposit. Obviously, if you request a check, that could take a few extra days. But the goal is to get the funding to people who are in fact eligible to them as quickly as possible so they can get back on their feet and start that recovery as quickly as possible. And just one final thing I want to mention also, once they apply and the inspector comes out and looks at the property damage, after the inspector leaves, a homeowner disaster survivor will eventually get what's called a determination letter. That will then outline what that homeowner or renter may be in fact eligible for. Sometimes that letter doesn't always sit well with some people. Not everyone. It's just because sometimes it may say we didn't, give you XYZ amount of dollars because XYZ reason. And we just want people to know that is not the end all be all if the letter isn't what you were hoping for. Some people aren't approved for any funding, and some people aren't approved for enough according to that survivor. And so you have an opportunity to appeal that determination letter. So we want to let people know that is not the end all be all. So if you in fact get a determination letter that is not what you were hoping for, look at the date on that letter. 60 days from that letter, you have until you have to appeal it. So that's critical. So the January 23rd deadline is out there. That's the deadline to apply for disaster assistance. Once you get a determination letter that spells out what you may be eligible for, or it may say you were not eligible or anything, we just want people to know that is not necessarily the end all be all. You have an opportunity to appeal it. Just do not delay with the appeal process.
Okay. What about mold mediation because of damage?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Mold mediation because of damaged carpet, walls inside the homes and stuff.
And it's, a lot of people don't like this answer. It truly is going to be a case-by-case basis. That's going to be a determination when the inspector comes out. That's not exactly my expertise, but that could possibly, depending on the damage of the property, including all that you mentioned, our goal is, primary residence to make it safe and habitable. So, and there could be an instance where the mold makes it not habitable if it was a direct result of Hurricane Ian. So again, a case-by-case basis.
Thank you so much, Nikki, for coming on. We appreciate you and your knowledge. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow at St. Stephen's AME Church in Georgetown from 9 to 1 at 2807 High Market Street. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, y'all, you've gotten the information about FEMA. Deontay, I'm always interested, since you are the certified behavioral health specialist here, how disasters like this affect people, and in addition, not receiving help for quite a bit of time thereafter.
Anytime individuals are affected by any type of disaster or anything traumatic, period, they can be affected by anything from PTSD, depression, sometimes even the fact that they're misplaced from their home and isolated from the family and friends that they used to be in around, can cause great distress. So if you know someone that's going through this, do whatever you can to support them. Let them know that you're there for them. And if you think that they're experiencing a crisis, make sure that you encourage them to seek professional help, because that's important as well.
If any of you who are viewing online with us today, or anytime for that matter, if you experience some distress from FEMA, whether it be emotional, whether you had any damage to your property, let us know in the comment section. Okay, so we also have a bit of news for our city of Georgetown. And so if you are joining today's spotlight, thank you. We appreciate that. We had a special show today just so that we can get the information out as quickly as we can, because time is of the essence when it comes down to hurricane and FEMA assistance, as well as this is important information as well as about our local elections are happening right now, runoff elections. Mr. Neal and Ms. Marilyn, if you two can talk about what's going on right now in the efforts, what people need to know, and the importance of local elections and the runoff that's taking place right now if you're voting early.
Yes, early voting is critical, Ebony, and one thing about that, especially because this time of year, you don't know what the weather would be like, on election day, especially when it's on the 27th of December. So people have the opportunity now just to go into the election office to avoid those long lines. Take advantage of that, especially the rural and minority community. And that's where most of the disenfranchising happen during elections. And also take advantage of those available rides out there that's available to take you to the polling sites, because the 26th is the last day for that you can walk into an election office to get to vote. The 27th is the actual election day. They'll still be giving rides on that day, so don't hesitate to call also. But take advantage of the early voting, and please take advantage of it now, because election is critical because what's happening right now from affordable housing to high electrical bill and utilities, it is critical that people get out and vote vote for those things that affect you. You know, and both people in that will help take care of those situations and stuff, and at least mitigate it to the point where it won't go any higher. Because gentrification is happening, and the election is one turning point when gentrification happens. It is happening right now in the city of Georgetown, particularly. It's happening right now. We must say that it's happening to the black community of Georgetown. That's what it's all about. Taking property away from those that understand the situation that they're in. So vote and vote for people that will help sleep in your homes, pay your electrical bills, and help get you back on the job front so you can have an affordable living and affordable housing.
Thank you so much for speaking on that. So just remember to go ahead and vote early, but the official date for the runoff elections in the city of Georgetown is going to be December the 27th, 2 days after Christmas. So if you think you're going to be out of town or busy, or it might be too cold or whatever the case is, go ahead down to the election office in Georgetown across from McDonald's. Everybody know where McDonald's is, and go ahead, take your ID and vote today. All right. So with that said, any other announcements, and which I do have an announcement. Today is the last day to apply for rental assistance. Okay, you can do that online with SC Stay, but also you can continue to come to 1001 Front Street basement, and which is around the rear of the building, and you can apply for social services even after the rental assistance has stopped. Okay, Monday through Friday. Um, you can come in and apply for social assistance. Okay. So just keep that in mind. And also, we have our Christmas drop in that's coming up. We want you to come and drop in and
Also, the rental assistance is not the last day to apply. It's the last day that funding will be. They'll be looking at the application for this funding series. So they can continue to apply, and if funding become available after the audit by the United Way on available funding that might come available again, there might still be opportunity. Yes, they can continue to apply for rental assistance. It's not guaranteed that they will receive it, but it's the last day for the United Way to provide funding for those out there that's working for those to apply for rental assistance.
And I want to add very quickly with the voting. I know we're in the installation and Christmas drop-in. I look forward to seeing everyone. But just a quick note with the voting. If you are home from college and you are registered to vote in Georgetown, in the city of Georgetown, go ahead and vote. Especially if you're next week before early voting wraps up, go ahead and get your vote in. And if you're still home December 27th, go ahead and vote in the city of Georgetown if you're a college student who's back home for the holiday. We forget about those young folks, but if they're home, go ahead and vote.
Ebony, who are the candidates that's running?
You're muted, Ebony. Marvin, be careful on that road.
Tamika Obing is running, as well as a Kelly Johnson.
And if we don't see everybody, I just want to wish everybody happy holidays and be careful out there as you celebrate the holidays.
Okay, there are some that has already started. Anyone that wants to work with the NAACP and get some bill dockers out there, just go to 1001 Church Street or contact 843 790-4075, and we'll make sure you get some door knockers. What we're doing, just encouraging people to get out the vote, let them know there's an opportunity there for them to make a difference in their community. Voting is necessary, and please, someone knock on your door, please just be very careful and be responsive to them and stuff, because they're just trying to help you get out the vote. Thank you.
Very good. All right, everybody. Just want to say happy holidays, and we'll be seeing you before the end of the year.